Hey there, all you fantastic people. I hope your day has been absolutely wonderful. We're back for another exciting episode of What If Naruto Became the Windlord. Make sure to show some appreciation to the talented author behind this fanfiction. You'll find the link waiting for you down in the description. In this What If, Naruto finds some scrolls that contain Fūton Jutsus. When he goes to ask the old man about them, the answers he gets will change his life. If this What If has your imagination running wild, drop a comment down below and let me in on your thoughts. And don't forget to explore the array of other captivating what ifs available on this channel. Alright, without further ado, let's kick off this video and dive into this exciting journey. Sasuke and Anko stood ready to fight the Kusunin. Sasuke was confident that they could take her without Naruto. Anko was a bit worried about Naruto. Because of their location, it would be harder for Naruto to find them. After all, from the sky everything looks the same over a forest. That would mean that he would have to go on foot where he would be a target for anyone who saw him. Anko was suddenly pulled out of her thoughts, as the Kusunin reached behind her and grabbed something. Slowly she pulled it out and revealed it to be her scroll. It was an earth scroll, the one they needed. Ah, said the woman. I see you have noticed my earth scroll. All I need is your heaven scroll and I have the complete set. She then brought the scroll to her mouth and then opened it. Her tongue wrapped around the scroll like a snake wraps around a mouse. Slowly she pushed it into her throat and swallowed it whole, making the two genin in front of her a bit grossed out. Now only one of us will be walking away from this alive. When she said that, she stared right at the two of them with a powerful killer intent. Both Sasuke and Anko gasped in fright. They saw themselves being bombarded with kunai and then torn to shreds. Then they both fell backwards on their asses and began to pant. Was it a genjutsu? Thought Sasuke right before he threw up. A moment later he tried to get up, but fell backwards again. No, it's more than that. She's so bloodthirsty that I can feel it. Looking into her eyes I saw the moment of my own death. Who or what is she? Anko, said Sasuke slowly as he looked over at her. He looked in shock as he saw her slowly stand up straight. Anko looked at the Kusunin with as much courage as she could. So, thought the Kusunin. It looks like Anko-chan isn't as helpless as I would have guessed. Wait, said Sasuke, causing both girls to look at him. With whatever strength and courage he had left, he reached behind him and took out their heaven scroll. This is what you wanted, right? If we give you this you'll have no reason to fight us. Air-wise, said the Kusunin with a sick smile. She then looked over at a branch and saw a snake near a bird's nest. Sometimes when the prey is cornered by the predator, its only chance for survival is to offer it something else. Here, take it, said Sasuke as he tossed her the scroll. However, before it had even traveled a foot, Anko moved and caught it. Sasuke stared at her like she was insane. Stop being a baka. Just leave this to me, and he was never able to finish what he was yelling at her due to her fists moving into his face. The Kusunin watched as Sasuke fell to the ground. The moment Sasuke hit the ground he used his arms like a spring and shot back up. He landed several feet away from Anko. Baka, you don't know what you're doing. I thought that I knew who I landed on, said Anko. But now I'm not so sure. There's no way you can beat Chiha Sasuke. What are you talking about, you baka? Demanded Sasuke. It's me. You're right, said Anko. Sure you look like him and talk like him, but I know that Sasuke isn't as big as a coward as you. You really think handing the scroll over will get us out of this? Look at that freak, she has color written all over her face. The truth is that you choked and are afraid. Sasuke didn't respond. Deep down, he knew she was right. That woman scared the piss out of him for reasons he couldn't comprehend. But he had to do something that might get them out of this. He was about to say something when the woman began to laugh. Kukuku, she laughed. Anko-chan is right about you, Sasuke-kun. You have choked. You're not nearly as entertaining as I thought you would be. As for the scroll, I could easily kill you both and take it like that. That's where you're wrong, said Anko as she turned to face the Kusunin. She then tucked the scroll into her trench coat pocket. You have to get past me in order to get the scroll. Outside the forest, Kenpachi was sitting under a tree as he watched Ichiro draw. Well, he said aloud. I guess that time is coming up soon. Some of the quicker ones will be making their way to the tower soon. Guess we better get going. Hey, Ken-chan, said Ichiro as she began to put everything away. Then, suddenly, one of the proctors appeared before them. Kenpachi-san, he said. We have found 3 dead bodies. We think you should see them. I've seen plenty of dead bodies, said Kenpachi. Besides, in this exam, people die all the time. It was probably a cause of some team getting a little impatient. Please, said the shinobi. You must see this. There is something wrong with the bodies. Fine, said Kenpachi as Ichiro jumped onto his shoulder. Kenpachi then followed the shinobi a ways until they came upon the bodies and 2 of the shinobi who were keeping watch of the area. Sure enough, there was something very wrong about them. It wasn't that they were dead, oh no. It was that their faces looked like they had been melted away. We checked their bodies and found their IDs, said another proctor. They were all Kusunins that were to take part in the Chunin exam. Kenpachi just stared at the bodies as memories came to him of the only person he knew who could do such a thing. Flashback. Kenpachi was running down a long corridor. He was younger and had less scars. His black hair was no longer pointed and ran down his back. Besides him were several other shinobi, all Anbu. Soon they came upon the end and found a door. An Anbu opened it slowly. Inside the room was Orochimaru. The room he was in was dimly lit. Jars of unknown items covered the walls. And at the other end was a large cylinder that was big enough to hold a person. Orochimaru stood in front of it with his back to them. My, said Orochimaru as he turned to face them. I was sure Sensei would have been here first. Looks like I was wrong. Where is she? Demanded Kenpachi. And just who are you referring to? Asked Orochimaru in a mocking tone. Don't play games with us, said one of the Anbu. Kenpachi-sen saw you take Kusajishi chair. People have been disappearing all over the village, and this is the first lead we had. Of course, we had suspected you but never had any real proof. I see, said Orochimaru with a sick smile. Then I guess I'd better show you. With that, he moved out of the way so everyone could see what was in the cylinder. Kenpachi's eyes widened as he saw Yuichiro floating in the green liquid. Well, what have you done? He asked in shock and horror. I am using her as a test subject, said Orochimaru. I want to learn all the jutsus in this world. I want them all. However, to learn and master them all would take more than a lifetime, and after I die new ones would pop up. So in order to get what I want I first need to be immortal. Your pink-haired friend was just my latest experiment. I think I might have found a way to stop the aging process. However, I'm not so sure what the side effects will be. It might affect her brain, which is something I'm not sure I want. Then you never should have done this, said the voice of the Hokage as he appeared. The two began to stare at each other. Suddenly a powerful wind appeared, and many of the Anbu fell to the ground with slash marks on their chests. Orochimaru then vanished and reappeared behind the Hokage, and then took off. Then flashback. So that monster is back, said Kenpachi as his eye narrowed. He then turned to the proctors. Go inform the Hokage about this. Also, get Anbu to head into the Forest of Death. I'll be heading there myself. And with that, Kenpachi took off in the right direction for a change. Oh really, said the Kusanin. I'm sure I can handle that. With that said, she took off towards Anko with the kunai. Anko quickly made some hand signs, and then raised her arms to block. Thinking that whatever she had tried to do failed, the Kusanin appeared in front of Anko, and brought down her kunai into the purple-haired girl's arm. She cried when the kunai refused to pierce her skin. The Kusanin then noticed that Anko's hands were covered with scales that went right down into her jacket. Tetsu Hikari, said Anko. Hope you like that. Anko then jumped back and threw several shuriken at her opponent who dodged them with ease. Interesting, said the Kusanin. I had no idea you knew that. Anko's eyes narrowed. How would you know what I'm capable of? She demanded. Kukuku, laughed the Kusanin. Oops, I think I said too much. She then brought a hand next to her face and blew. But instead of air came fire that shot right towards Anko who didn't move. The flames engulfed the Genin's form and appeared to burn her alive. However, once it cleared, all that was seen was a deep-fried snake. Hibi Bunshin. Above her was Anko with her Yurumi ready to strike. Anko threw back her arm and then shot it in the direction of her enemy. In a second, the blade of the Yurumi hit the Kusanin's skull and went right through her. But when Anko landed, the enemy became a pile of mud. Shit. She swore. Shit indeed, said the Kusanin from behind her, causing Anko's eyes to widen. If that had hit me, I would be in some serious pain. Damn you, yelled Anko as she spun around. As she did, she sent the blade of her weapon towards the Kusanin. This time, however, she caught the blade between her middle and index fingers. Acting quickly, Anko dropped her weapon and began to make some hand signs. Once she finished she yelled, Dakyureki Tsuba no Jutsu. Then, from her mouth, came a large blast of some purple liquid that flew towards the Kusanin at amazing speeds. The Kusanin saw this and jumped up into the trees to avoid being hit. Anko's attack ending up hitting a tree close to Sasuke, dissolving a large chunk of it in seconds and causing it to fall. Anko jumped. I guess I should stop taking you so lightly, little Anko-chan, said the Kusanin. She bit her thumb and placed some of the blood on a seal that was on her arm. Kuchius no Jutsu. A large cloud of white smoke appeared and hit the Kusanin from sight. A moment later she could be seen riding on the head of a giant snake. But how? Cried Anko as she stared at Snake. Only my family has that contract. Unless you're working for my grandfather. Kukuku, laughed the Kusanin. You're only half right, Anko-chan. Before she could say more, the snake spoke up. What happened to my Nai-san? Asked the snake. You mean he hasn't returned yet? Asked the Kusanin in surprise. I thought I told him he could return after he took out the blonde. Well, something happened to him, said the snake. Manda believes that he is dead. Is that true? While this was going on, Anko decided to take action. She made several hand signs again and yelled, Dakyureki Tsuba no Jutsu. Only this time, instead of one large ball there were at least a dozen smaller balls. The snake saw this and began to move to avoid. However, due to his large size and the number of acidic spheres being shot at him, he couldn't avoid them all. The first hit him on his side. The snake raised his head and screeched in pain, and another hit him below his head. 2 more hit him on the side, but the snake was already dead. "Baka," said the Kusunin as he stared at the stupid snake that stood on. She then looked at Anko. "I think I have had enough of you, little Anko-chan." With that, she vanished from sight and reappeared in front of Anko. The next thing that Anko knew was her opponent had punched her in the gut hard enough to send her flying and grabbed the scroll at the same time. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he was still lost. He was holding a branch straight up with one hand. He then let go and let it fall to the ground. The branch landed with its end pointing west. "Well, I guess I'll go that way," said Naruto as he took off. The image then zoomed out to show the entire forest. A chibi Naruto appeared to show where he was, and a chibi Anko and Sasuke appeared to show where they were. It turned out that Naruto was heading in the opposite direction. In another area of the forest, 2 girls were riding a giant beetle made of clay. They were Hisume and Michi. After their loss to Hinata and her teammates, they had returned to a very disappointed Kakuzu. Well, he was more pissed off than angry. He was about to kill them, but after some begging for a second chance changed his mind. So he sent them out again to kill Hinata, and if they failed again he would be getting a few new hearts. Now that's motivation. "I think I see something," said Hisume as she spied something. "Stop this thing." "Alright," said Michi as her clay monster stopped in its tracks. "But it's art, not a thing." "Who cares," said Hisume as she jumped off and ran to what she said. Michi soon joined her and looked at. It was a boy in an orange sweatshirt with a snake fang stuck in his head. "Oh my kami," cried Hisume. "They killed him." "The bastards," said Michi. "But I guess that's what you get when you wear orange. You might as well paint a target on your chest. Anyways, this isn't the one we are looking for." Hi, said Hisume. The two went back to the clay beetle and began their search once again. "So, do you think there'll be any cute boys here?" "Well now," said the Kusunin. "Looks like it's just you and me, Sasuke-kun." Sasuke wanted to run and hide, to get away from that crazy bitch as soon as possible. But then something within him stirred. How could he defeat and kill his brother if he couldn't even stand his ground against this woman? Slowly he stood back up and got into his stance. The woman smiled. "Here I am," said Sasuke. "Let's see what you got," said the woman. A moment later she began to run all over the place. So fast, in fact, that the cloud of dirt she created in her wake couldn't keep up. However, Sasuke could with his Sharingan. He could see everything with ease. He jumped to dodge the attack, and then let loose flames from his mouth that consumed the area where the enemy nin had stood. When the flames cleared, nothing was there. Then the ground began to crack and race towards Sasuke. Sasuke jumped into the trees to avoid being attacked by the Kusunin as she shot out of the ground. "I see," said the Kusunin with a smile. "You are now able to see and predict movements. You good." She then leapt up onto the same branch as Sasuke. "But try this. Fūton Jutsus." A powerful burst of wind that Sasuke remembered from Naruto shot at him. Sasuke jumped up onto the branch above them and then shot down towards the Kusunin. "I was saving this for the dobe," he yelled as he made some hand signs. "But you'll do. Kasei Handu." With that yelled, Sasuke raised his foot high above his head as it burst into flames. He then shot it down and hit the Kusunin on the head with his attack, setting her ablaze. Sasuke then jumped back and began to gloat. "That's my first original jutsu. I created it while I was off training with Kakashi-sensei. Anything that I hit will be consumed by flames. I still haven't figured out how to do it without hand signs, but I will soon. Not like you have to worry about it again." "It was impressive, I'll give you that," said the Kusunin's voice from behind Sasuke. He turned around and saw her standing there. He then looked at what he thought had been the Kusunin as it turned into a pile of mud. Combining ninjutsu and taijutsu into a single attack is not something that the average genin can do. But I expected more from you, Sasuke-kun. With that, she jumped into the air and began to throw a storm of kunai Sasuke. Sasuke, in return, threw several shuriken at her that seemed to miss. However, tied to each one was a wire that allowed Sasuke to control them. They spun around the tree and the Kusunin so that she was tied up. "Alright then," said Sasuke as he made some more hand signs. "This one isn't as original. I got the idea from watching that baka so many times. Kasai-shirin." This time flames appeared around Sasuke's fist like Naruto's Senpiken. However, the flames seemed to come together like a blade or drill. Sasuke then shot towards the Kusunin at full force and hit her in the center of her chest. The flames pierced her through her in the tree, creating a circular-shaped hole through both with scorch marks along the sides of both. Sasuke turned around and slowly began to walk away. He didn't want to admit it, but that jutsu took up a lot of chakra. Then he heard, "Very impressive, Sasuke-kun," she said with a wicked smile. "Now here's a reward for you." With that, the Kusunin's neck shot out and raced for Sasuke. Once close enough, she bit his shoulder. Then, "Dokakugi no jutsu," yelled Anko from behind the Kusunin as she slashed her back with her right hand. Anko's nails on her right hand were now several inches longer and were dripping a purple liquid. The Kusunin shrieked out in pain as she let go of Sasuke and began to retract her neck. However, she only got halfway before it fell to the ground. After seeing this, Anko raced over to Sasuke. "What the hell did she do to you?" Anko demanded as she looked at the spot where the woman had bitten him. She was about to check for poison, but stopped as the wound began to change shape. Soon, it looked like a seal. Then, without warning, the Kusanin's mouth opened. Anko turned her head in time to see the Kusanin come out of her own mouth. Anko backed away a bit in fear as first the head came out. The arms soon followed. Then the chest and finally the legs. My, said the Kusanin. What are they teaching you these days? That was a low blow, attacking me from behind while I was distracted. It makes me so proud to see that some of my blood courses through your veins, Anko-chan. The Kusanin then reached up to her face and pulled down. Now Anko saw who they had really been fighting. Orochimaru Oji-san, she said as sweat dropped from her chin. Kukuku, said Orochimaru in his own voice. In the flesh. I look forward to seeing how you all do in this exam. Sasuke-kun, I'm sure will get the highest score, but I'm sure you'll get second, Anko-chan. But first you have to survive the Otonins that serve me. He then pulled out their scroll. The scroll then burst into green flames before their eyes. Remember me, Sasuke-kun. We will meet again. You will seek me out for more power soon. And I'll be waiting to give it to you. And with that, he sank into the ground and Sasuke lost consciousness. Kenpachi was running all over the forest in random directions. The only thought in his mind was making him pay for what he did to Ichiro. Because of him, she still had a child's body and a child's mind. It was as if she was forever stuck like that, and he would make that snake bastard pay. Finally, after running for what seemed like forever, he stopped. A moment later, Orochimaru began to emerge from out the ground. Why, hello Kenpachi-kun. Ichiro-chan, said Orochimaru with a sick grin. How's my favorite lunatic and lab rat doing these days? Kenpachi moved his hand to his sword. Ichiro-chan, he said in a serious tone. Get off. Hi, said Ichiro. She leapt off and took up a spot where she could watch the fight.Kenpachi made the first move and thrusted forwards with his blade. Orochimaru yelled, Senich Ashu. As snakes shot out of his sleeve. They flew past Kenpachi's sword and warped themselves around Kenpachi. He was about to break free when a kunai was pressed against his throat from behind. Kenpachi turned his eye and saw another Orochimaru. Team, swore Kenpachi. Please deliver a message to Sensei for me, said the clone. Tell him if the exam is cancelled, I will destroy this village. With that, the clone turned into a pile of mud, and the original sank back into the ground. Flashback. Danzo was fuming mad. Itachi had been ordered to kill off his clan in secret for the sake of the village. He could have used this incident against the kind-hearted Hokage and overthrow him. Then, after he became Hokage, he could blame Kumo for what had happened that night. Then he could begin the conquest of all the over-shinobi villages. He would even go as far as to make the Uzumaki boy a weapon like the one he had heard about in Suna. It would have been so perfect. Yet Itachi had failed. He couldn't kill his own little brother. Itachi had gone to the Hokage and told him everything that had happened and begged the old fool to protect his brother. Sarutobi had agreed and the truth about that night was covered up. Itachi had been labeled a traitor, so that the village wouldn't be torn apart by mistrust and hate towards those in charge. What made Danzo even angrier was that Itachi had gone as far as blackmailing him to make sure that Sasuke would be safe from him. Suddenly, Danzo sensed two people walking towards him. Soon he saw his co-conspirators, Himeru and Kaharu. What do you two want? He asked. We have been thinking on how to turn this whole event to our advantage, said Kaharu. The people do not know that an Uchiha has the potential to summon the Kyuubi, continued Himeru. Therefore, they did not have the same concerns as we did. Nor did they know of their plot to take over the village. This I already know, said Danzo. Get to the point. Both elders nodded. Right now the old Uchiha clan is gone, said Kaharu. Sasuke will most likely want to rebuild it. This will be our chance to take full advantage of his situation. If we can make him indebted and completely loyal to the village, then his children will be as well. This all started because of Uchiha Madara, said Himeru. Before Uchiha Sasuke returns to the Uchiha district, we will have already gone through the entire area to erase the truth about him and why he fought Senju Hashirama. We will make sure that he will become a powerful shinobi and one day Hokage. Are you insane? Asked Danzo. Not at all, said Himeru. This all originally started over a dispute as to who would become Hokage. You do remember, right? Namikaze Minato and Orochimaru were not the only two candidates to become the Yondaime, said Kaharu. Uchiha Fugaku was also a candidate. He had no chance considering who the other two were, of course. However, he assumed that he should have been named Hokage after Minato-sama's death. However, Sarutobi took that role back and refused to hand it over to him. Uchiha Madara also betrayed the village because he did not become Hokage, said Himeru. Are you seeing a connection? Yes, said Danzo. Never trust an Uchiha. No, said Himeru. We should have allowed it since their philosophy is closer to ours. Thinking back, imagine what this village would have been like if we didn't have such soft-hearted fools running it. This is a bad idea, said Danzo. Sasuke will follow in his family's footsteps and betray the village. This is not just our decision, said Kaharu. The rest of the council agrees that we should do everything in our power to restore the Uchiha clan. Hiyashizama isn't into the idea of making Sasuke-san our future Hokage, but other than that he is willing to go along. And what if someone else comes along who might be better suited for the job in the Hokage's eyes? Asked Danzo. Both elders smiled at Danzo. Saying nothing, they both turned around and walked away. And flashback. Night had finally fallen. Most of the teams had already set up their camps and preparing for sleep. Then smarter shinobi had set up traps and had one of them keeping guard. The more foolish and arrogant ones didn't. Needless to say, they wouldn't last that long. But there was one team that wasn't getting ready for sleep. That was the team that consisted of Neji, Tenten, and Lee. Alright, said Neji as he called the group's attention. We've rested enough. Let's scout out the area and locate the other teams. Don't engage them, just find out where they are and then meet back here. Got it. Yeah, said Tenten as she got up. Neji may be the best genin taking the exam as far as she knew, but he was not a people person. Once again he had made all the plans without asking them about it. Sure, his plans were good and they had never let them down before. Still, he could have asked them what they thought or something. Was that so much to ask? But this wasn't the place to start a fight or be difficult, so it was best just to go along. Yosh, cried Lee. I shall do my best. Neji nodded and all three jumped into the trees. In another part of the forest, an odd encounter was about to take place. Naruto was in the middle of a clearing, and his only light was the eerie green glow from one of the muffins Haku had given him before he went into the forest. He had spent all day looking for his two teammates. Now it was dark, and locating them would be even harder due to the lack of real light. Not to mention he was tired and hungry. Guess I'd better set up camp, said Naruto as he bit his thumb. He then made several hand signs before yelling, Kuchi's no jutsu. Meanwhile, Michi and Hisame were close by as they now walked through the forest. They too had spent all day looking for someone and failed. They were unaware that Hinata was already within the safety of the tower. Damn it, yelled Hisame. Where is that girl? Keep your voice down, Baka, Hisamichi. We'll find her sooner or later. Right now we'd better make camp and start out first thing in the morning. Great idea, said Hisame with a yawn. So, are you going to be making a clay house for us or a cottage? Michi rolled her eyes. We are in a fenced-in forest within a village we shouldn't be in, she said. If I did something like that, I'm sure they would notice. And what do you think would happen then? We would be caught, said Hisame as she sighed disappointedly. As long as you understand, said Michi. So tonight we will be sleeping under the stars. Hisame raised her head and looked upwards to the sky, and saw nothing but clouds and tree branches. Even if there had been stars that night, they looked the same every night in her opinion. What was so great about them anyway? They were just gas-powered pinpricks that would soon die. Maybe you could make a clay, began Hisame. However, she was cut off as a cloud of smoke shot across the floor of the forest. What the hell was that? Let's check it out, said Michi. Hisame nodded and the two of them ran in the direction that it had come from. It took them only a few seconds to find the source in what was once an empty clearing. The two girls' jaws dropped as a giant salamander the size of a two-story building occupied most of the area. Well, their jaws also dropped because situated on its back was a flashing red neon sign that said motel, and next to the creature's head was a flashing green sign that said vacancy. I don't believe this, said Hisame. I wasn't expecting this, said Michi. I know, agreed Hisame. Just look at how much a room costs at that place. It's a steal. Michi's face faltered at that comment. But, in Hisame's defense, she was right. The price per room equaled $10 in American money, if America existed in this world. Just at that moment, Naruto walked back into the clearing from the woods. Can I help you? Naruto asked. Both girls jumped back and looked at him. As Naruto crossed his arms as he waited for them to say something, Michi began to sweat a bit. Their cover had been blown. They had been spotted. And they didn't know where the blonde's other two teammates were. For all she knew, this could be a trap of some kind. Can we please have a room? Asked Hisame. Michi twitched and then looked over at Hisame. The shark girl was giving him the teary-eyed, puppy dog pout. Hisame then raced over to Naruto and began to hug his leg. Please, 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 please. I can't stand sleeping under the stars. My partner won't make a house for us or even a cottage. The two of us have been traveling alone by ourselves, and we just need a place to spend the night. Michi slapped her face. Who would be stupid enough to fall for something like that? I'll help you out, said a teary-eyed Naruto, causing Michi to face fault. Hisame then let go of Naruto's leg, and the two of them walked over to the salamander, and soon Michi followed after them. The inside the salamander was interesting. The walls of flesh were moist and colored light pink. Almost all of the furniture was made from flesh and seemed to be a part of the creature. The only exception was the beds that were located on the second floor. The doors were also odd. Muscles opened and closed certain parts on the creature's flesh to allow access to private rooms. After Hisame had paid Naruto for the room, he went off to give it to his summoned salamander, and let the two girls do some exploring, and pick out which room they would like. This is so cool, said Hisame with stars in her eyes. Michi grabbed Hisame by her shoulders and stared into the shark girl's eyes. "We are inside a summoned creature," said Michi. "No telling what kind of freak a summoner is. For all we know, he could be some sicko who will try to cut out our organs while we sleep." "Well," said Hisame. "As long as he's not expecting a date or anything like that." Michi gave Hisame a deadpan look. "Your mother dropped you too many times on the head, didn't she?" asked Michi. Hisame shrugged. "Ah," said a voice behind the two girls, causing their eyes to go wide. They slowly turned around and saw that Naruto had been standing several feet behind them. "How long have you been standing there?" demanded Michi. "Long enough," replied Naruto. "You don't have to worry, before I ran into the two of you I had summoned some sensor salamanders. They'll alert me to anyone coming into the area. Also, this salamander won't open its mouth to anyone other than me or is willing to pay. Even if someone— Is that right?" asked Michi as she laughed nervously and sweat dropped. "I have a question," said Hisame as she raised her hand as if she were in a classroom. "Actually, I have two. 1. How do the doors lock? Also, are you going to eat that muffin?" "All you have to get is say lock to lock the door," said Naruto. "The muscles that move the opening to your door will then freeze and keep the door closed. To unlock it, just say unlock. As for your second question, are you referring to the one glowing in my pouch?" It was true, anyone could see the glow coming from Naruto's weapon pouch where he had placed the muffin. The glow also gave away the shape of the muffin. Hisame vigorously nodded her head. With a sigh, Naruto took out the muffin and tossed it over to the crazy shark girl. As soon as it was close enough, Hisame jumped up and caught it in her mouth and began to eat it. "Will she be okay?" asked Michi as she took a few steps backwards. "Depends how strong her stomach is," replied Naruto. Dawn was about an hour away. The forest was covered with dew, and the forest floor had a light mist. The nocturnal creatures were returning to their homes while other animals were waking up. But some of the most dangerous creatures were already wide awake. In fact, several of them were looking at the giant salamander through a scope. The most menacing at the moment was the team from Iowa. They had been tracking him since the exam started, and they had finally come to the end of the trail. They could only assume that Naruto was inside the creature. "Are you sure he's in there?" asked Bakken. "Of course I'm sure," said Rusho. "Now let's do this like I planned." Bakken and Gamma nodded. Gamma went out first. He jumped from tree to tree as he made a dash for the summoned creature. Along the way, he passed by a salamander with 6 red spots on its back that was clinging on a tree. A dim light was coming out of the spots, and once Gamma passed through the light's path he vanished in a cloud of smoke. However, he didn't return back to where he had originally come from, but appeared in Naruto's room. "Naruto-sama," said the salamander. "Someone is heading for you." Naruto said nothing as he lay in bed. With a sigh, the salamander hit Naruto in the head with its tail. "Wah," said Naruto as he slowly woke up. He looked over at the salamander next to him. "Is it morning?" "Well, yes it is," said the salamander to the boy who was only half awake. "But that's not what." "Good," interrupted Naruto as he made a seal. "Time to start looking for the rest of my team." Outside, Gamma was right in front of the giant salamander. Now he had to figure out a way to get Naruto out of the creature. Before he could think of anything, the salamander was engulfed in a cloud of white smoke and vanished, leaving Naruto and 2 girls. One of the girls looked half dead, while the other— "I asked for a wake-up call, but I didn't expect it to be like this," said Michi as she got up. Hisame only moaned in her sleep. Michi looked at her with a bit of disgust. "That's what you get when you eat strange things." Michi then picked Hisame up and put her on her shoulder, and the two of them left the clearing. "Not even a goodbye," said Naruto as he rubbed his eyes while yawning. Then Risho jumped next to Gamma and caused Naruto to get an adrenaline rush. Well, said Risho with a cocky attitude. "So you came out for us. This will make things much easier." "If you are looking for a scroll," said Naruto as he narrowed his eyes, "I don't have one." "They said we wanted a scroll," said Risho. "We were sent here to kill you so Iwa can have its revenge." "Well, what did I do?" asked Naruto. "I've never even met an Iwa nin." Gamma chuckled. "You mean you don't know?" said Gamma as he took out some paintbrushes. "Too bad you will die never knowing the truth then." Slowly he began to apply makeup to his body. "You should blame your village for never telling you the truth about your origins." "It doesn't matter," said Risho. "Even if you knew, we would still try to kill you. But it is a bit sad that you don't know." "Oh well." He then began to make several hand signs, and when he was finished 4 pillars of earth shot out of ground. Naruto took a step back as the pillars began to circle him. "In case you're wondering, you're not the only person who is a master of his element. Let me show you why I'm an earth master." Shuren Endo Toy. As soon as he called out his jutsu, the earth covered him and took form. Soon Risho had a helmet, arm and leg guards, and a breastplate. You should have stayed inside your lizard," said Gamma as his makeup began to increase his strength. "I summoned salamanders, baka, not lizards," said Naruto as he got into his stance. "And if you think that a makeup-wearing freak and a dirt-covered team can beat me, then you are sadly mistaken." "I think you have forgotten something," said Risho as his eyes moved to look at the sideline of the forest. "Team 0 are made of 3 people." Bakken then jumped down from the tree where they had been hiding in and landed on the ground. He then began to prepare for his special jutsu. He began to tighten up his muscles and slowly began to sweat. After a minute or so his entire body was covered in sweat and then he yelled, "Haku no Kiri." From Bakin's body shot a white mist that blocked all vision. But that wasn't all it did. There was also a powerful odor that smelled like a smelly gym filled the area as well. It was so bad that Naruto had to cover his nose. The next thing that Naruto knew was something like a whirlwind shooting towards where he was standing. Acting quickly, Naruto shot up into the air. However, he had done exactly what his opponents had wanted him to do. The next thing he knew was being punched in the face. As he fell backwards, someone else was punched him much harder in the gut, and Naruto crashed into the ground hard. Slowly, Naruto crawled up onto his feet, but he was knocked down once again by something that felt like a giant burning rock. After that hit him, Naruto was thrown rolling on the ground for several yards. "For some reason I thought it would be better," said Bakin with a light chuckle. "I'm not dead yet," said Naruto as he got on his feet. "We can fix that," said Risho. "As long as we stick to my tactics we can win any battle. I bet you have already figured out that we three can see within it while you can't see your hand in front of your face." "I don't think so," said Naruto. "I bet that first guy who punched me made that mist, and I can see why he would have a jutsu like that. His punch was so weak that I barely felt anything." "What?" yelled Bakin. "I hit you so hard you should have a concussion." Naruto just laughed. "You're right," said Naruto with a grin. "Compared to the beatings that I have gotten my whole life that was just a love tap. And too bad for you I don't swing that way. Even this mist is weak. And I bet that second hit came from makeup boy. I'm only guessing, but I think that his strength comes from his makeup. If I'm right that means that in reality he's a weakling. And that last attack, well he's hardly a master of anything." "Why you little," yelled all three of the Iwanins at the same time. Then, all at once, the three of them ran towards Naruto and prepared to use the same attack again. That was their mistake as Naruto began to make hand signs. When he was finished, Naruto turned in Bakin's direction and yelled, "Fūton Jutsus," sending a powerful wave of air in his direction. Bakin, who was caught off guard, was thrown several dozen yards backwards, and his mist was dispelled. The next thing that Bakin knew was Naruto hovering over him with a smirk. "How?" asked Bakin. Naruto's smirk became even wider. "You may have cut off my sense of sight and smell," said Naruto, "but I could still hear you all. I was taunting you all so that I could figure out where you all were." And now, Naruto brought back his fist, and then slammed it into Bakin's chest so hard that he could hear ribs breaking. "Let's finish this." "Go to hell," yelled Gamma as he ran towards Naruto with his paintbrushes raised. "I'll take away everything you have." Gamma closed in on Naruto and raised his paintbrushes to seal away Naruto's movement and chakra, but Naruto was faster. In the blink of an eye Naruto moved behind Gamma and kicked him in the ass while flying. "Get up Gamma," yelled Risho. "We started out 3 against 1, and now it's 2 against 1. We should be able to take him easily." "Don't worry," said Gamma as he got up. "My powers will take away his ability to fly." Gamma turned around and got the shock of his life. While he and Risho had been talking, Naruto had taken out his Raijin and was now flying at Gamma, with his sword of lightning poised and ready to strike. Gamma tried to dodge, but it was too late, and Naruto with Risho watched as the Raijin sliced right through Gamma, and began to electrocute him from the inside out. "Worthless grunts," said Risho as he watched Gamma fall to the ground. "Looks like I'll have to kill you myself." "I don't believe you," said Naruto as he put away the Raijin. "After seeing me take down 2 of your teammates, you still think you can win? Don't you even care that they might be dead?" "Why should I?" demanded Risho. "Should I be all teary-eyed and call out their names after they lost so pathetically? I would never waste a single tear on them. They were just pawns so I can get what I want. Fame. Once I kill you, I will go down in history." "If that's the way your village thinks then it is no wonder they lost the war," said Naruto as he began to spin his arm around. "Shut up Uzumaki," yelled Risho as he made some hand signs. "You don't know anything." Sure an endo toy. Earth began to cover Risho again and added more earth to his armor. It looked the same, only now there were spikes on it. Risho then charged to tackle Naruto like a boulder, but Naruto was now running towards him with his own attack. "Let me show you what it means to be a master of your element," said Naruto. Senpuken. With that, Naruto punched Risho in the chest with his attack. What followed was a large explosion and pieces of Risho flying high into the sky. Slowly, the cloud of dirt began to calm down, and Naruto stood in front of a small crater. "You weren't even worth it." While Naruto's back was turned, Bakin was slowly limping towards Naruto with a sharp rock in his hand. Once Bakin was close enough, he began to raise it above his head, so he could kill Naruto. But, before it got halfway up, Bakin was sliced into a dozen or so pieces in a zigzag pattern. Naruto turned around just in time to see the pieces fall to the earth. At first, Naruto jumped backwards in shock. He knew he didn't do this. Then he looked down at the pile of flesh and saw wire that had chakra infused into in and around the flesh of Bakin. Naruto moved to touch it when it suddenly flew back into the tree line. Naruto turned his head to look in its direction, and that's when he heard it. Clapping. Then, slowly, a figure came out of the woods while clapping his hands. "That was a nice show," said Setchus as he stopped clapping. "Now that your warm-up is over, how about a real challenge?" Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.